Hello, this is Malorian, and this is the Orc Tactical Team, and I got a request in just to talk about Squigs in general. He was just, he really likes them, he's wondering how to use them, so this is going to be talking about the 4 different types of Squigs in our army book. And those Squigs are your giant cave Squig, you got your Squig herd, you got your Squig hoppers, and then you got your mangler Squig. So you have a whole bunch of different ones, and we could even do a theme army if you want. But to start off, the best way to ever describe these Squigs is a glass cannon. And the reason behind that is that they're very strong. You know, these guys each have 2 strength 5 attacks, weapon skill 4, so I mean that's amazing, right? These little guys are packing out a huge punch, but the problem is going back, these guys have toughness 3 and no armor for the most part. You know, for the regular Squigs and then the Mangler Squigs toughness 4, still no armor. So you have to really make sure that you're punching hard, and either you're up against something that you're going to have the higher initiative, so you're going to be hitting first and hopefully wiping them out, or be big enough so that you can resist the attacks and just make sure that you're doing more damage to them than they are doing to you, so you're going to win overall. So let's kind of go through these and kind of talk about each of them. So the giant cave squig. This is a mount for your characters, and basically it's just going to send you randomly hopping around. I mean, this guy has the random movement, hop, hop, hop type stuff. And really, for the most part, people are going to take this as a fun choice. The issues with this being that he's easy to snipe off with a cannon. He's really random, so you never know if you're going to be just setting up people for a big counter charge. It'll be a waste anyway. And in the end, even when he hits things, unless we're talking about really weak missile troops or a war machine or something, they're just going to be steadfast and he won't be doing anything anyway. So I guess you could be seeing him as a kind of a random chariot, but the cheapest you can get this guy is 80 points, which isn't all that cheap. And I mean, you can almost get 2 of the wolf chariots for that. I mean, that's just 20 points more, but it's just really random. So if you're going to be going with this, and you weren't going to be going for just, hey, let's do something that's kind of crazy, and even that could be tactical, right? Because when you see this guy on the field for the opponent, you know, oh boy, this guy's different, he's wacky, and he's going to be taking his attention more on that. And who knows, that could mean that a cannon is going there instead of if you're running a wyvern list or something, right? It could just kind of play with his priorities a little bit. There are probably some ways that it actually could make him stronger. You could give him the charm shield, so that all of a sudden if he does shoot a cannon, you should be alright. And another nasty surprise you could do is you could give him the silvering steel, a 2+ armor save, and give him the great weapon. Because the way that the model works, it's a combined profile, so he's going to get the 3 wounds total of the squig. All together, it's going to have a 2+ armor save, and with all those high strength attacks, this guy that they could probably, be really not thinking of much of a danger, could be going through and just chewing up fast cav, chewing up anything you want going through, and he's actually a lot harder of a hit when he's coming in. That's going to be a lot more points, obviously. We're now talking about 134 points, but in the end, you could be seeing this as being worth it. If you're all of a sudden you're wasting your opponent's cannon shot that's going there and just get charm shielded away. They think he's going to be an easy kill, and they charge him with some fast cav or something, and then all of a sudden you're munching them and keep on going. All these things could be working really well. And then as well, if you were to take him, then you might as well work the synergy and add in the Squig hoppers. Now, Squig hoppers, they got a few changes to them. Same thing as before. We got the 2 strength 5 attacks, random bouncing around. At least now the giant cave Squig can join them. And the one advantage you get from that is at least now you can re-roll your hopping. So an average of 3d6 is 10.5 inches, which is better than infantry, but nothing spectacular. If you have the opportunity to re-roll that, then obviously your average is going to go higher, because whenever you have a super crappy one, you can re-roll that. The only thing to keep in mind there is that they are cavalry while you are a monstrous beast, so he will be able to still snipe you, so you still need to have that shield there. You could run a really large unit, they're 5+ now, but the thing is that they're still skirmishers, so the issue there is going to be that it doesn't really matter how many ranks you have, you're not going to be getting anything extra. You could go crazy and try and go for a horde and go, really mashing guys up, but you're putting a lot of points into this. Really the idea here would be just to be adding some punch to this unit so that now it could not only take on regular units, but but now, or say like fast cav, now it can be taking on smaller support units as well. You know, if they have a little unit of 15 or something, it can hopefully go and munch through. But even then, I'm saying this is a glass cannon. If these guys get any attacks back, these guys of yours, which are a good number of points, have a 3+ toughness, or sorry, a toughness of 3 and no armor. So they're going to die really fast. So all in all, that's probably just going to be for fun, except that there's 2 tactical uses you can use for this. One, if you can somehow get these guys behind the enemy lines, you're not allowed to have any charge reactions to this random movement. So if you were to say charge something critical of theirs with your black orcs, their unit flees. Your unit of hoppers here now can do their hopping movement, touch them, and they're dead because they can't flee. And as soon as you touch that fleeing unit, they're dead. So that could be really good, but it does take a lot of planning and a lot of positioning to get them there in the first place. So that is a tactical option, but it is something that's not easy to pull off. Second of all, skirmishers have stubborn in the woods. So you could be using these guys as the bait. You know, your opponent thinks, oh, these guys are going to be easy. I'm going to charge, kill these guys, get past, combat reform, and I'm going to be hitting this flank. However, you've actually positioned them to be in some forest so that they charge, kill almost all of them. You're steadfast because you're skirmishers in woods, and then all of a sudden you can hit their flank. So that's something you could try and do as well. You could also use them as defensively, you know, if you are taking lots of war machines or if you're trying to protect your bunker. You know, if you're worried about fast cav or flyers sneaking around you, well, you can't sneak around these guys, right, because they're random movement. So that's something you can do with them. Next on, we're going to talk about the Squig herd. Now, I love the Squig herd because these guys, for the amounts of points that you're going to be putting out this punch of the 2 strength 5 is amazing. And of course, when you have the handlers in there, you're going to have lots of ranks. As opposed to the hoppers, now there's a good chance you're going to take steadfast away, and these guys can just munch up the opponent like crazy. I've actually recently been having lots of trouble with mine, though, because the same problem is that they're a glass cannon. So if you match yourself up against something that has just a whole load of attacks, you know, re-rolling the hit, they don't need to be strong attacks, just lots of attacks. Well, then all of a sudden you lose combat, and when these guys lose combat and they break, they explode. So it's really important, if you can, to keep them near your general. Right now, I couldn't in my regular list because, you know, if you're looking at a real game situation, I have my Savage Orc Center, 2 blocks of 100 Night Goblins, and then it's actually a flank unit, which is handy as a flank unit because it's immune to psychology, and they should usually be winning on their own. It's just for those circumstances that your opponent concentrates it or has a really good punch there, also boom, it explodes and you've lost the whole thing. But at the same time with that, like I've said in some of my battle reports, if you think of it, if I had a big unit of orcs over there, they'd probably still break, but the problem is that they'd be ran down, whereas this is at least exploding and hurting you at the same time. So something to work in there. If you are going to take them, you probably want to go with a big unit. I'm talking about at least 40, just the Squigs, and then having your handlers in addition to that. The other thing you do is kind of more fun as well, and that's kind of like the suicide unit, because as soon as all the handlers die, it explodes, and everything within I can't remember if it's a random distance or what, but it takes D6 strength 5 hits plus 1 for every 5. Now that doesn't really, you know, the points for that extra hit is not really worth it, but what people will do is take minimum size squads, run them up, have the handlers in front. You can even do this as a Congo line. The handler dies, boom, and you do a big explosion. So whereas you've lost hardly any points at all, you could actually, if this is against an elite unit, you could just be decimating it and killing quite a few guys. Especially if you run a lot of them, right? You could run a whole bunch of these together. Just think, instead of running a big horde, if you did all those as just single lines, minimum units, and just move them all up together, they get charged all together, the handlers all die, and then bam, massive, right? If we're talking usually like a horde to be 10 across, that's 10 units, that's 10d6 hits, strength 5. Pretty much whatever they're touching is dead. So you could do something like that. Of course, the danger is that basically that's like a big powder keg. Somebody does some shooting, kills handlers from one unit, it explodes, kills handlers from another unit, explode, explode, explode. All of a sudden, a little unit of 10 archers just destroyed all those points. So again, really risky. In the end, it was a suicide mission anyway. So this is kind of like the thing where, if you're going to do this, it's actually more for fun. You know, you'll usually see these types of tactics in people that are not there for, the ultimate goal of this. I'm going to be outplaying my opponents, blah blah blah. This is more something for people who like to try something wacky. They want every game to be different. So if that's what you want, throw it in. You can throw in a couple. They're not many points. The final one is the Mangler Squig, and this one is very difficult because to begin with, it should be very easy, right? You get to control it, it hops around, and then once you hit something, 2d6 strength, 6 hits, right? If this is against elite, it can just decimate them, and then after that, it's going to randomly hop around. Now, the big problem here is that it's only having 3 wounds, toughness 4, no armor, so if this thing takes any shots, it's dead. So, this is really going to depend on your metagame, because if you're against a person with a lot of shooting, they're just going to kill it, it's going to be a waste. If you yourself are running an army that has lots of elites, you have to be careful because you might jump through, kill a couple of guys, and then with the random movement, oh look, you just came back and killed 7 Black Orcs. Well, that was amazing, right? So you really have to make sure that it works with your army and your opponent's army. Because let's say, if you were keeping him just around Night Goblins, so you don't care if it goes through you back, and you're up against Ogres, wow, they don't really have much that can try and kill him, and he can just be really doing a lot of damage to those Ogres. And the thing, too, is that you can't charge this. So, I've heard some people that they actually use it defensively, right? It'd hop in front of their lines, and if you ever want to try and attack me, go ahead. You're just going to be taking 3d6 hits first, and then after that, it's going to be dead, so you don't have to worry about it hopping back to you either. The main thing there is just you have to keep in mind that if they have any shooting, they can try and kill it. But again, you can use this to your advantage. If you have an army that has a lot of things that are susceptible to cannons, you have a troll horde, you have chariots, you have a wyvern, you have a giant, well then all of a sudden you're really playing on his priorities, and any cannon that goes to this Mangler Squig obviously isn't going towards your really expensive giant. So you can kind of work those things in. So there you kind of have it. I've covered all the 4 groups. In each case, it's really a glass hammer. It's going to have a huge punch, but at the same time, things can go really bad, really quick. And even though for a lot of them they have some really good tactical implications, there's also, because of the huge downfalls, a lot of times it's just going to be a unit you're taking for fun unless it's something you're really comfortable with or the metagame is just perfect for it. So there you have it. There's Squigs, and we'll see you next time. Bye.